Hello friends, you're with the Lonesome Gamer, and today I'm gonna play Star Trek Ascendancy. Well, I promised you something special from Essen, some kind of surprise. To me, the biggest surprise in Essen was that Dylan won the Nobel Prize, but that's now the game that I brought from Essen, and my expectations were very, very high. Most of the reviews were extremely positive, and they really praised the game for its thematic density and for its interesting, sometimes innovative mechanisms. And so, as I said, I had really high hopes on that. So I think I'm gonna set it up, and then let's start the game. Okay, the game is set, and you can see we have a huge table here, which is at the start mostly empty. We have our 3 home planets. We got here Romulus, Earth, and Kronos. And we know the Romulans, they start right here. The Romulan Star Empire, United Federations of Planets, and the Klingon Empire. We have lots of ships and some other markers here. Over here, more markers, research markers. These are, well, let's call them buildings for now. These 3. These are the tiles for the unexplored systems. These are the connecting space lines. Exploration cards, kind of event cards. These are the Ascendancy markers, some space stations, and a bunch of cards. Okay, and of course, dice. So the goal of the game, there are 2 ways to win the game. First, if you manage to collect 5 Ascendancy markers, you will win the game if you control your home planet at the end of that turn. And you can buy these Ascendancy markers. They cost you 5 culture. So yeah, you just try to gain culture, trade them for 5 Ascendancy markers, trade 5 culture for 1 Ascendancy marker, and if you collected 5 of these markers, you've won. And by the way, everybody starts with 1 Ascendancy marker into the game. So they basically mirror your cultural and I don't know, basically your cultural status in the galaxy. The other way to win the game is a military victory. If you manage to control 2 enemy home planets and your own. So in a 3-player game, This would be obviously, if you manage to control all home planets, then you win the game. But we can expect expansions, more factions, so then 2 enemy home planets and your own. That's what you need to gain military victory. Each faction starts with a technological starting advancement. The Klingons, they start with disruptor technology. Your rolls to hit of 6 always score a hit, regardless of the rival's shield modifier. The Romulans, they start with an amazingly powerful technology. The Romulan cloaking device. Your ships have first strike in space battles during your turn. I'm going to explain later what exactly that means. And the Federation starts with the Universal Translator when attempting hegemony at 1 to your die result. Okay, I'm not completely done with the setup. I forgot to kind of place the nodes on the planet. So first, if a system is controlled by a player, the player will place a control node on that system, and they look just like that, depending on the color of the player, of course. So the Federation is going to place a control node right here, and as I said, that indicates simply that the system is controlled by the Federation. In addition, we got these 3 types of nodes. The red node is a production node, the blue one is a research node, and the yellow one is a cultural node. And they simply represent what kind of resources that planet can produce. And now you can see here the different colors, and they indicate also what kind of planet and what kind of resources this planet might produce, or what kind of nodes the planet can house. So therefore, in this case, all 3 types of nodes are allowed on the planet. That is something that is equal to all home planets. So we're going to place all 3 nodes on each of the starting planets. Okay, in addition to these 4 nodes, each home system starts with 3 starships. There we are. And we also start with 3 markers of each resource: 3 production, 3 research, and 3 culture. Okay, so we're ready to go now. A game round is basically divided into 3 phases. The first one is the initiative phase. That's when turn order is determined. Usually you bid for turn order. If no one bids, it's determined randomly. And at the first in the first round, I think it's not that important who starts, so we're gonna do this randomly. We have here our turn order cards. So I'm not sure which one is which, so I'm going to give one here. That's number 2, number 3, and the Klingons, they start. Okay. So, after this initiative phase, we come now to the command phase, and that's where the action takes place. Each player will, well, actually it's not the command phase. It's, I don't know, we can call it a player turn or whatever. We start, the player turn is divided again in the building phase and then in the command phase. And each player is going to do the complete turn, so the building phase and the command phase, and then the next player continues. So during the building phase, we could now build ships. A ship costs 1 production. Ships can be only built on home planets or on planets with star bases. We could also build these nodes, these buildings here, but because that planet already houses the maximum number of nodes, we cannot build any nodes here. We could colonize a planet or a sector in this phase, but because we haven't explored anyone, it's not going to happen either. And we could also commit research on launched projects, but because we haven't launched a project yet, that's also not going to happen. So for now, I think I'm going to build nothing, and we go right in the command phase. So now during my command phase, I got here these 5 command tokens. They represent the number of orders I can give, so I can give 5 orders. And each time I give an order, I exhaust the command token, and well, after 5 orders, my command phase is over. Basically, you can use these commands for, well, let's say 4 different kind of things. First thing is for movement, second thing is for attacking, third thing is for launching research projects, and the fourth one is to commission a starbase or a fleet. So I guess first what I want to do is I want to explore a bit the surrounding galaxy, and to do this I gotta give movement orders to my ships. Okay, so the way the map will look after a while is we got these space lanes here. Okay, and we simply connect them. That is partly randomized with our planet, and then we place one of these, for now, unexplored systems here, and then we continue with another space lane, and there'll be another system, and so on. Now, to lay down the space lines, we got to well, basically move somewhere. So let's say we start movement here, and we move Now, we got two options to move. We can move in impulse or in warp speed. So let's say we move in impulse speed. That allows us to move two spaces on such a space lane. So let's say we do that, then we would place a space lane, and we can move two spaces on that lane. Now, if we want to explore a planet, we now had to give the ship a second order to move an additional two spaces, and we're still not in the system, so we had to give the ship a third order to move into the system, and then if we enter an unexplored system, the move would end, and now we could explore the system. Okay? So that would have cost us then 3 actions. That's because the space lane is pretty long. It's a 4 space lane. There are lanes from 2 spaces to 4. The length is randomized. But even with a 2 space lane, we need at least 2 orders to get to a new unexplored planet, because we got to give the first order to go here, and then the second order would bring us here. So we need between 2 or 3 orders to explore a new space if we do it with impulse speed. But I already said that we have another option, and that is we can go into warp right away. Now, how does that work? Well, we would use a first command or a first order to go into warp. That means the ship basically is removed from the map. We place it next to the space where it started, where it went into warp, and then we place one of these warp markers next to the ship. Okay. Now, if we give the ship another command, we can choose. We could either go out of warp, or we could place another warp marker next to the ship. If the ship remains at warp speed at the end of the game turn, another warp marker will be placed automatically. And finally, if we decide that we want to leave warp, we give the ship a command to leave warp, and then we simply count the warp markers it has accumulated, and we can then move that many systems. So let's assume we have 2 warp markers here, then we could move right here, and that would cost us only 3 commands, right? 1 command to go into warp, that would place the first warp marker there, the second command to place a second warp marker there, and the third command to leave warp, and then we would end up here. If we want to just move one system, we could do the same thing. We could go into warp, place a warp marker there, and then leave warp right with the next command, and we are at the same system, no matter how far away it is. So even these 4 space lines can then be crossed with 2 commands. In impulse, it would take 3 commands, as we have seen. Okay, that's the reason why it is mostly the best idea to go into warp. And you can also explore while at warp. So we can now use our first command and go to warp. And I'm not gonna do this all the time like that. I'm gonna place a warp token there. Just do it now to show you how it works again. Now we're gonna place a space line, and to do that we roll a custom die. We got twice the number 2 on that die, twice the number 3, and twice the number 4. And that die indicates now the length of the space lane. So that's a 4, and I'm not absolutely certain if the die is really random, because when I first played the game, I had about, 17 times or so a 4, and only about, 6 or 7 times 2 or 3s altogether. I think I had about 3 times a 2 and 4 times a 3, and about 70 times a 4. So that was a strange coincidence. We'll see how it works this time, but it starts right away with a 4. So okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go here. I will play this kind of aggressive. I wanna start coming close to the Federation, and I got this special fleet here. I'm going to explain later on a little more. Take 1 production for each rival ship destroyed by this fleet. So these are marauders, and they will give me an advantage. I can kind of steal production from the Federation if I do some damage there. So that could be an interesting idea. The Romulans, I think, especially at the beginning of the game, they are much more dangerous, maybe during the whole game, because they got their cloaking device. And the cloaking device basically means that during the first round of combat, on their turn, they can roll their battle dice first and also apply the result before you can fire back. So if they show up with a big fleet, they can basically destroy, lots of your ships before you even find the opportunity to fire back. And I think that makes them extremely dangerous. It nearly seems a little bit overpowered. So that's also a reason why shields might be very valuable against these guys. Therefore, I don't want to mess around with them right at the beginning. I think I prefer going for the weaker ships of the Federation here. So, I placed now my space lane, and then at the end of that lane I can place one of these unexplored systems. There are quite a lot, by the way. But before I can do that, I gotta go out of warp, so I gotta place another command. I gotta give another command here. So I'm out of warp now. I accumulated 1 warp token here, so I'm allowed to move now exactly 1 system. I placed that lane. Now I'm gonna reveal this, and this is right away a phenomenon, a cosmic phenomenon. It's a stellar nursery, and you can see that the the artwork is really beautiful on these. Okay, there we are. And that is also a hazardous system. So we got here on top, that red number indicates that there's a hazard awaiting us. In addition, you see here that research token here. That shows that we got to place one of these research markers here. And now the Romulan ship has to face the hazard. And if it does that successfully, then we gain the research marker as a reward. Of course, that's a Klingon ship and not a Romulan ship. Okay, so how does that work? Well, we roll a die. And we add our shield modifier. The shield modifier is 0 at the moment. Is that so? I'm not sure. I think we add actually the shield modifier to this number here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Exactly, yeah. Okay, so we add the shield modifier to the hazard number here, and then we roll a die. And if we stay below this modified number, then the ship survives. So there's nothing we can add here, so the ship only survives on a 1 to 3 in this case. That's a 6. So ship is destroyed. And that was a very bad start. And by the way, the standard rules say that you kind of prepare the deck here of these unexplored systems so that you usually start with planets around you, and that such a disaster cannot happen at the very beginning. But there is also an optional rule that allow you to do it more randomly, and yeah, I kind of like that, so I'm going to play with that optional rule. So the Klingons have now 3 commands left, and they've lost their first ship, which definitely kind of sucks. What they can do is this system here is called a floating system, okay? Because it has only a single connection to a space lane. And you can shift these systems. The main planet, the home planet, has to remain fixed. That's a rule. You can never move them around. But you can move these other, the space lanes, around this planet. So that is something I'm going to do now. I'm going to shift it in this direction. And in this way, the stellar nursery might actually protect me a little bit from the Romulans, because obviously it's a pretty big risk to move through that system. And on the other hand, I can go down here and try it another time. Maybe this time I draw something better. So I gotta exhaust another command to go into warp with one of my ships, and then I'm gonna exhaust another command to go out of warp, and that allows me now to explore another system. So I'm going to roll a die again, and wow, guess what? It's another 4. And yeah, as I said, Sometimes you get strange results with that die. We will see if this goes on forever like that. So we're going to place another one of these here. And then we draw one of these unexplored systems. And this time it's a planet, Indri 8. And you can see here, this planet offers you space for 2 nodes, and that would be a research node and a culture node. So now we can take a ship and move it here. And if you end your movement in one of these unexplored planets, what you got to do is you draw an exploration event. So there we go. That is a warp-capable civilization. Bad luck again for the Klingons. The planet is already claimed by someone else. Okay, develop up to 2 resource nodes in priority order. So priority order is that you start with production. That would be the first resource node. The second one would be research, and then the last one would be culture. And that's how you are supposed to place these guys. So let's assume this would be a planet where you could place all 3 types of nodes. Then we would place now first a production, and then a research, and we would not place the diplomacy, the culture node. In this case, because we can only place research and culture, these are the only 2 we can place, we will place exactly these 2 nodes. So there we go. Then we have our culture node, and there we have our resource node. And no control node is placed here. In addition, we got to place 2 warp markers here. That indicates that this is a level 2 warp capable civilization. And yeah, that's basically all we do now. If we do attack these guys, they will defend themselves, and they hit on a 6-sided die on a 4+. That's not bad. They also have a shields modifier and a hegemony resistance. That means if we want to if we don't try to take them by force, but by, well, we try to overwhelm them culturally, just assimilate them basically into our great Klingon culture, then this is an important number here. So it's not going to be easy to capture that system. Again, bad luck for the for the Klingons here. Okay, finally, what I want to do is, for my last command, I want to launch a new research project. So I'm allowed to draw 2 cards here. And let's see what we got. The Klingon High Council. Your system's hegemony resistance is increased by 1. In addition, we get an additional command token, and we would increase our speed, our warp speed. That's pretty cool. So that's an option. The other one is the mass fire tactics. Space battles fail to hit rolls of doubles, destroy 1 enemy ship. I think I prefer that. I gotta choose one of these 2. The other one goes beneath the deck. And then this one is now the one I'm working on. I can only work on as many as a number of I can only work on a number of advancements equal to the research centers I control. So right now I only control my research center here, the blue one in Kronos. That means I can only work on a single advancement at the same time. Okay, so I used up all my commands, therefore the turn for the Klingons is over. Federation is next, and they are in a similar situation. There is not a lot they can build right now because Earth is completely colonized, obviously, and I could build ships, but I'm not too interested in doing this. Although, I think I got some interesting fleets. Yeah, that I could, maybe I want to build ships actually. I think I want to do that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna build 2 ships. And that costs me 2 production. You can see that here. It's a pretty helpful player 8 starships, 1 production. Okay. And they are then placed on Earth. And you can already see here, and that's a problem again with all this plastic. That's why I prefer, that's why I prefer chits. It's getting already pretty crowded here. But it's not that bad because of these fleet cards here. Okay, so I'm done with the building phase. Now we come to the command phase. And what I want to do here is, first, I want to form a fleet. So that costs me a command. To form a fleet, I need at least 3 ships in that fleet. And I got now a few options here. And every faction has different types of fleets, right? So first I got 3 battle groups. They're all the same basically. They can hold up to 6 ships. And they say this fleet may reroll 2 hit rolls of 1 in space battles. So I hope at the beginning I don't have to face space battles. So I'm not going to build any battle groups. But I got some other options. I got a science fleet here. When this fleet braves a hazard, only roll for 1 of its ships. Usually you have to roll for all of them. This fleet may brave the hazard of a phenomenon they occupy without exhausting a command. So basically that allows you to get a science token or a research token without spending a command. I'm going to explain that maybe later. The second one is a colonization fleet. On your turn you may discard a ship from this fleet and disband this fleet to immediately colonize an undeveloped system without spending a culture. That's pretty cool, and this is exactly the type of fleet I want at the beginning. Finally, we have here the diplomatic fleet. You may reroll your hegemony roll in systems this fleet occupies. Okay. So, I exhausted a command to form a fleet, and I'm gonna form a colonization fleet. So we simply place now 3 ships on that fleet, and remember, 3 is the minimum to form a fleet, and if a fleet ever has less than 3 ships, it is already immediately decommissioned. Okay. Now let's see. Let's see what we can do now. And by the way, I forgot that. We need the fleet marker number 2. So there we go. This is fleet 2. I don't know if you can see that here. There, now you can see it. This is the second fleet. So we place one of these special ships here on top of that. And that now indicates that, yeah, I should glue that here, but okay, you can see now that there's a fleet here. And you can only control a number of fleet equal to your ascendancy level. So now I only have a single ascendancy marker. That means I cannot control more than a single fleet. Another big advantage of fleets compared to single ships, and that's definitely the main advantage, is you only need 1 order to command the whole fleet. So if I want to move these guys, I don't have to give 3 orders to everyone to move, but 1 order will be good enough. So I'm going to send this fleet now into warp, and then again out of warp. That allows them to immediately explore, and we're going to roll a die, and I hope it's not a 4, and it's a 2 this time. Nice. So let's take one of these small connections here, and I wonder where I should go. Maybe I want to play a little more. I want to isolate myself at the beginning. I'm not that strong, so I'm going to go in this direction here. And about the board size, basically, the board ends here on the edge of the table, at the top the same, and here there is a little space which goes basically to here. And then here on that side we also have a little more space left on the back of the Romulans. So these home planets, they don't mark the end of the board, the outer end of the board. You can go a little bit to the other side here. Okay, so now we draw an unexplored planet, and that is Sigma Tama 4. It's not a bad system. We move there with our colony or colonize fleet, and I'm not absolutely sure, to be honest, if you can. On your turn you may discard a ship from this fleet and disband this fleet to immediately colonize an undeveloped system without spending a culture. I wonder if this is something that happens during the building phase, where you normally colonize systems, or if this is something you can also do during your command phase. I think I'm going to do it during the building phase and just save myself the culture. I think that's probably what I want to do here. Okay, so now I got to draw an exploration event, and that says when no one has gone before, you discover an untouched planet perfect for colonization. Great. So at the beginning of the next turn, I would be allowed to colonize there. Okay, what else do I want to do? Well, I could try to explore another planet. I could also try to start an advancement. It's hard to tell, actually. I really don't know what's more important right now. I think I'm going to roll a die for that. On a 1 to 3, I'm going to explore. Okay, so I'm gonna launch an advancement. So I can draw 2 cards. We got the Advanced Stellar Cartography. You may connect 1 extra space lane to systems beyond its maximum number of connections. There is down here, this number indicates the maximum number of space lanes the system can be connected to. And we got the orbital laboratories. During resource generation, take 1 research for each starbase you control. That's not bad. That's a pretty cool option. I think I'm going to take these orbital laboratories right now. Okay, and that one goes beneath the deck. Now we got only a single command left, and what I'm going to do with it is I'm gonna send 1 ship into warp. And this is it then. Okay, and finally we got the Romulans. There's also not a lot they want to build. But they could also consider building a ship, maybe. Let's see. What kind of fleets do they have? Well, first, they are different. They got these 3 massive fleets here. They don't have any special abilities, but they can hold up to 9 ships. That is pretty powerful. The biggest fleet the Federation can control is 6 ships. Okay, then we got here a science fleet. When this fleet braves a hazard, only roll for 1 of its ships. This fleet may brave the hazard of a phenomenon they occupy without exhausting a command. So that's basically the same as the science fleet of the Federation. We have battle group. This fleet may reroll to hit rolls of 1 in space battles. Also the same as the battle group of the Federation. But here we have a mining fleet. When this fleet occupies an undeveloped system or phenomenon, you may use 1 command to take 2 production. This may only be used once per turn. This is pretty awesome. And yeah, I definitely want to take that. I want to form that fleet. So what I want to do is I'm also going to buy 2 research. I'm gonna buy 2 additional ships here. By the way, there is no limit on how many ships can there be in a single star system, or how many ships can produce by a single star system. Yeah, that's all or unlimited. So, and that's the end of my building phase. Now I'm going to use a command to form that fleet. And I could, if I wanted to, I could say, okay, I'm going to bring only 2, or I bring only 3 guys into this fleet, but I actually want to shit. Gosh. Yeah, I wanna fill the fleet with 4 ships, because that will be an advantage later if I want to colonize a system. Okay, and now with a second command and a third command, I'm going to send the ship into warp, the fleet into warp, and then leave warp right away to explore a new system. So we're going to roll the die here, and that's another small space lane. And I think we're going to move, I don't know, I'm not sure where to move actually. Yeah, probably here, this direction is fine. And then we're going to draw one of the unexplored markers, and this is another space phenomenon. Right at the beginning of the game, lots of these. So we place a research marker there, and then I forgot to, this is fleet number 3. Yeah, there we are. I need my special fleet ship. There we go. Okay. Okay, so. And now this is also a hazardous space. So we got to roll. And we got to roll now for each ship. So we got 4 ships, means we need 4 dice. There's nothing to add from the shield modifiers, so if we roll a 5 or 6, a ship will be destroyed. Holy shit. So we lost 2 ships, that's really painful. And that means now that the fleet is also no longer existing, because you definitely need 3 ships to have an existing fleet. That was very unlucky. At least we get the research marker, because one of my ships survived this, but that was not exactly what I was hoping for. Well, bad luck. I'm sitting now here. Okay. I got 2 commands left, and I want to try to find another planet. So I'm gonna use both commands to send this ship here, and I think I'm gonna place the Eagle Nebula down here. Just like that. And Now I'm gonna roll for another space lane. That's a 3. And I'm gonna place that here. Draw another one here, and that is Capella. That's a pretty cool planet. It offers me 3 nodes. That's definitely good. So I'm ending up here, and now I gotta draw another exploration card, and that is, so yeah, that's okay. That's a pre-warp level 0 civilization. Skilled at survival with little technology, tribal societies exists on many isolated systems. So we can place a production marker there. And the Romulans can simply replace one production marker on system, marking it as inhabited by a pre-warp independent civilization. The first player to colonize the system claims the token. Okay, so the Romulans can simply colonize the system. The Federation had to follow the Prime Directive. The Federation may never invade planets or colonize pre-warp inhabited systems. So, yeah, for them it would be impossible to simply colonize the system. Okay, so that is then the end of the... No, it's not the end of the first turn. We come finally now, after every player has done their command phase and their turn basically, we come now to the production phase. And every node will now generate resources, or every controlled node. So that means that the Klingons will gain 1 research, 1 production and 1 culture for these 3 nodes here on their home planet. Same thing for the Federation. And also for the Romulans. And then these cosmical phenomena, they will be also refilled with research tokens. So the Eagle Nebula now will get a new research marker. Stellar Nursery still has the... that will not be refilled again. So only the first player during each turn who, well, who explores such a nebula is allowed to take the research token there. And then we have to refresh our tokens and any possible cards. And this is then the end of the turn. Okay. Yeah. And I think this is also a good time to load this up. I think you got a good first impression. And yeah, for now I think not too much happened. Maybe the Klingons are in a little disadvantage because they couldn't find a planet for them to colonize right at the beginning. So we'll see. Hope to see you on the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.